While some people are still debating whether Africa is rising, quiet millionaires are being made right now. Not from oil or tech unicorns, from cassava mills, cold rooms, delivery bikes, and you name it. So go-getters, I actually found 10 businesses creating real wealth across the continent, and some of them will surprise you. So without wasting much of your time, let's go straight to the points. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Elvin Jake, and I would advise you go to our playlist and try to catch up on everything we've done on the channel so far. And it might also interest you to know that on here we also cover geopolitics, where we handle basically everything that goes on in Africa. And if you are one of those interested in taking the bull by the horns, it might also interest you to know that we have a diaper project ongoing. And if you're interested in joining, you just need to contact us at africatoday.info@gmail.com. Now, the first on our list is going to be cold chain for food. Now, the thing is, Africa wastes nearly 40% of the food it grows. Fruits rot, vegetables spoil, dairy goes bad, no refrigeration. Now, flip that around. Build cold rooms around farms and markets, and you are creating money from what used to be losses. And this is simply because farmers will pay to keep their tomatoes fresh. Traders will pay to keep their dairy fresh, and fish farmers will rent your cold truck. Now, let's quickly look at what you are going to be spending for such a business. Now, a cold room will cost you anywhere between $30,000 to $100,000 to set up. Now, if you charge $50 to $200 monthly, you are breaking even in about 18 to 25 months. And after that, everything you are making is almost pure profit. There's this guy in Ghana who started with just one room. Now, I want you to understand that position actually beats size in this business. And that was exactly the secret to his success. Now, I also want you to take note that governments need cold rooms for their export programs to work. So bank loans and grants are available. And though this favors medium operators, if you are a small scale farmer or you are just beginning, you can just rent space and scale up. What makes cold chain work though is having something worth storing, and that's where processing comes in. And that literally takes us to our second point, which is actually agro-processing business. Now, Africa's food market is heading towards $1 trillion by 2030. But we still import $50 to $70 billion processed food every year. And we are talking of things like rice, flour, palm oil, and even tomato paste. So every ton milled locally instead of importing keeps the money here. Take cassava, for example. It grows everywhere, turning into flour and starch. And suddenly you've got bakeries, noodle factories, and even pharmaceutical factories buying from you. A small mill runs $50,000 to $250,000, while mid-size runs about $500,000 to $2 million. And margins hit 20 to 30% because you are buying raw cassava cheap, and once you process them, you are selling the products very expensive. It might interest you to know that the African Development Bank is funding special agro-processing zones, and governments are banning imports to force local production. In Nigeria, rice import bans created overnight millionaires for those who seized the opportunity. Small processors serve local markets. Medium firms go regional, while large operators build brands that compete with imports head-on. And once you are processing, you need to move products. And that's where logistics is crucial. That actually leads us to our third on the list, which is none other than logistics and delivery. E-commerce is growing, social commerce too, but delivery systems are still weak. And that gap is gold. This is because people sit on platforms like Jumia, forgetting that the real gold actually sits with whoever controls vans and bikes. If you control van and bikes, you own the movement. You own a slice of every transaction. Delivery fees $1 to $5 per package, and they will generally do about 15 to 30 deliveries a day. So that's about $15 to $150 per bike per day. So scale up to 50 bikes and do the maths. And you know what, go-getters? You can even add merchant subscription for priority pickups. which is another level of profit. Someone in Nairobi started with 3 bikes in 2021, and today he owns 40 bikes and employs 60 riders. Now, margins are thin, anywhere between 10 to 15%, but volume covers that. The thing is, once you build dense coverage in a city, new customers flow naturally, and that's the moat. Now, apart from starting small and scaling up, do you know that the icing of the cake is actually the fact that you could go multi-city? That is, you could extend to other cities and be completely national, right? Yeah, logistics move goods, but moving information, that's the next stage we are going to be looking at. So let's quickly go to our next point that has to do with content and media. Africans want African stories, real insights, African heroes. But most global media still shows us through that tired old lens. We've got YouTube, podcasts, newsletters, courses. You actually own attention in a niche. Build trust, monetize multiple ways. And by multiple ways, we are simply referring to things like ads, sponsorships, consulting, training, and even affiliate deals. And all it takes is one person, right? For a start, you can just be alone. One person, a good camera, a mic, and you are good to go. Now, one good thing with media is that you can easily scale it up without a physical infrastructure. You can be anywhere and build an audience across the continent, right? Africa Today is a good example. And there are many more out there. And the thing is, once you own attention, money obviously follows. Another easy way you can go about it is to simply launch a course and membership follows, right? A lot of people do that nowadays. Also, there's this recent one that a lot of people do, which is hosting events. That's also another way of connecting with people across the world and making money at the same time. I can assure you, go-getters, that the margins are insane, because for an ordinary podcast, you could spend about $500, right, to produce. But that podcast could generate about $5,000 in sponsorship and sales over time. This business model is perfect for diaspora. You can run it from your laptop. And the good thing with media is also the fact that it doesn't make you rich alone. It equally opens doors for everything else, like fintech, which is obviously going to be the next on our list. I think I've talked about fintech a couple of times on this channel, and I can't stop talking about it because it is the order of the day. And now, this coming 2026, if you've been neglecting fintech, please pay attention to what I am going to be telling you right now. Do you know that mobile money alone moved $1.1 trillion across Africa in 2024? M-Pesa alone processes more than some countries' entire banking systems. But that's just the reals. Real money is in what runs on top. Lending, savings, insurance, merchant tools, you name it. Do you know that 350 million adults are still unbanked? They need credit, they need insurance that works, and they need safe savings. Now, platforms use transaction data, airtime history, even social behaviors to assess risk. They lend $10 to $500 and charge fees or interest. Spreads can hit 5 to 10% per transaction and 20 to 40% annual loans. Tala and Branch have lent over $2 billion to millions of customers. Fintech firms almost tripled in Africa between 2020 to 2024. But watch out, governments are scrambling to regulate. Kenya forced some lenders to change models overnight, while Nigeria has constant fights over licensing and forex. Now, since this involves massive upside, real political risk, you need local partners who get the regulatory game. Tech-savvy founders win here, and so do diaspora investors, bringing global fintech knowledge to African problems. And what do people need money for? Often skills, which is where EdTech comes in. So we are obviously going to be talking next about EdTech platforms. Now, fun fact, over 60% of Africans are under 25. Most want skills. Coding, AI design, digital marketing, basically remote work. Africa's edtech market could grow from $4 billion in 2024 to even $7 to $20 billion by 2033. That's explosive. Models are simple. Subscriptions are about $10 to $50 per month. Boot camps, $200 to $2,000 per intensive training. Job placement, partner with employees. Take a cut when grads get hired. Now we've got Andela, for example, who trains developers and gets them hired globally. Smaller platforms teach things like marketing, video editing, and things like virtual assistant skills. Now, startup cost, you will need about $10,000 to $50,000 for good curriculum and a platform. Once a course is recorded, serving more students costs almost nothing. And that's the big deal with digital, because digital means you can reach 10 countries and more without offices. Now, the little challenges you could face are things like internet access and data cost. Up to 30% are still offline. Winners designed for low bandwidth offer downloads. Partner with telcos for zero rated access. So this business model is perfect for diaspora workers who can train the next generation and monetize 24/7. Now, where do people live? That obviously takes us to housing. So number 7 on our list is obviously affordable housing. Now, Africa is facing a 50 million home deficit right now as I'm talking. And it is estimated that by 2030, it could actually hit 130 million. Finance gap, $1.4 trillion. So this is money that could be tapped by anyone. Now, when it comes to housing, I don't think I need to get into details because you obviously know what to do by now. If you've been following the channel, we've come up with a lot of videos guiding you on how to invest, be it in real estate, starting from land banking to actually investing in rental property and all the like. So you can just go and check on our playlist and try to catch up, right? Now, since housing obviously generates waste, let's talk about waste recycling, which is obviously our next point. Now, when it comes to waste, we've got waste everywhere. Plastics piling up, broken disposable systems. I've talked about this on the channel before. I think I've even made a detailed video on waste recycling. But then let me just quickly summarize the essentials for you here, right? Now, when we talk of waste recycling, we are basically talking about collection of plastic that you turn into bricks, tiles, fibers, packaging, and you name it. Now, the good thing with this business is that the raw material, which is plastic, is definitely found everywhere. And with just about $20,000, you can actually get access to the machines and get started. Now, with this business, once suppliers and buyers are locked, margins are anywhere between 20 to 40%, which is enormous. And that leads us to the next on our list, which is number 9, that has to do with healthcare and telemedicine. You know, telemedicine is something that's fast growing, and I've covered a detailed video on this that I am going to be linking here for you to just go and watch directly. All right. We all know how much healthcare is needed, especially for the fact that most Africans now are growing in purchasing power, and the middle class is ready to invest anything it takes to make sure that they stay healthy. So healthcare professionals and entrepreneurs with capital are winning here. Diaspora doctors increasingly explore this to return value while building equity. Now, let's just quickly go to the last but not the least point, which is none other than solar energy. I can't talk enough on this. This was actually one of the game changers this 2025, and it is definitely going to keep gaining grounds this 2026. So if this is something you've been joking with, please take this seriously. And as well, I've got a detailed video on this that I am going to be linking for you to watch as well. Now, all I can tell you quickly here is that 600 million people in sub-Saharan still don't have reliable power as we speak. That's not just a problem. It's a $14 billion market for any smart entrepreneur to tap from. You don't need massive solar farm. The money is in mini grids and solar leasing. A family can't drop maybe $500 upfront for panels, but they can pay $5 weekly for 2 years. You finance the system, they get power, you get steady income that compounds. Companies like M-Kopa already have thousands of customers through systems like this. And you know what, go-getters, with this business, margins run anywhere from 20 to 30%. And once systems are installed, maintenance is minimal. So one thing I know for sure, go-getters, is that the next wave of African millionaires is being built right now. Not waiting for perfect conditions, but solving real problems for real people. So my challenge for you, go-getters, is pick one space. Spend the next 7 days learning everything about it. Who's winning? What margins look like? What traps are existing in your domain? Where traps are existing? Knowledge compounds and action beats hesitation. So this is time, go-getter, for you to take the bull by the horns. So if you liked this video and you would love to actually see Africa grow, please share this video as much as possible so that others get to tap from these opportunities. That's it. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you on my next one, as always.